Hey, I'm going to show how to connect vQFX, the QFX data center platform that Juniper has to offer, the virtual operating system vQFX-Junos in EVE-NG. Going to show just a quick basic configuration on how to get two of them talking using the Ethernet switching family for VLANs across interfaces, all right? And I want to show how to connect vQFX because one of you all out there had a comment that you were having trouble. So you know what? I hear you. I hear you guys out there, guys and girls, that watch the channel and that make comments. I look at your comments, and if you're having trouble with something, I'll try to put together a video for you real quick. So hopefully this helps that person that made that comment and anybody else out there that is dabbling in vQFX. Okay, here's two vQFXs. You got your virtual routing engine and your virtual packet forwarding engine. Okay, so they come in pairs. You need to load, when you go in here and add node, I'm not going to show how to load the operating system. You will have already needed to do that to load the operating system files from juniper.net. You will have had to acquire that software and put it into the Linux operating system that your EVE-NG platform is sitting on. Once you've done that, these two items will be colored blue, meaning that you can now add the vQFX to your EVE-NG lab. So you need to add a packet forwarding engine and a routing engine to make one complete vQFX system. Okay, so I'm showing here that these are two different vQFX devices. And again, the PFE and the RE need to be paired together to make a complete QFX switching system. All right? So I've got two of them with a highlighted box to signify what's going on here. Again, as I've talked about in previous videos with Juniper VMX, likewise, the vQFX, PFE, and RE need to be linked together with the EM1 interfaces. On how to do that, you just hover over here and click this little orange plug and make the connection. You can see in some of my earlier EVE-NG Juniper videos on how to step-by-step connect nodes together, connect PFE and RE together, but that's how to do it right there. But you must use the EM1 interface as what Juniper considers to be the internal link between a PFE and an RE to make the two logical components in a platform talk together. You got to use the EM1 interface, okay? Now, furthermore, when you connect the vQFX to other routers or switches, not like VMX, which uses the PFE to make connections like I'm doing here, you would use the packet forwarding engine, which would emulate like the line cards and the interfaces of the router or the switch. You would use the PFE to connect to other devices. Not so in vQFX. vQFX is opposite. It uses the RE to make connections to other devices. Okay, so it's kind of counterintuitive there, but that's the way it is. Okay, so once again, to be clear, as I just previously mentioned, the VMX virtual MX Juniper platform in a virtual environment like EVE-NG uses the PFE to make connections to other external routers or switches. The vQFX uses the RE. Okay, so after I clicked add node, you can't see that behind my face up there. But anyway, there's a pop-out button, add node. You can even do it like this, add node, and then you go down and select vQFX. You tell it how many PFEs or how many REs you want to add. Then you make your connections as I previously mentioned. Then you can right click and start. You get a message, start selected nodes. Okay, wait, let me see here. There we go. RE20 is starting. PFE 18. Now, when you're consoling to these, just click on this and you can see it booting up. The one you want to click on is the routing engine. That's the one you're going to be configuring when you're configuring the overall vQFX system, okay? Okay, we are watching both REs booting up. Once they boot up, it's root, enter, enter. I have already set a root password, so it's username root. Now, excuse me, it's username root and the password that you set. Then once you log in as root, you go to the shell and you have to start the CLI with the word CLI. You can look at some of my JNCIA videos where I talk about basics for logging into Juniper systems and stuff like that. But we're just going to go over how to connect these two vQFXs using the Ethernet switching family for layer 2 connectivity using a layer 3 interface between the two of them. Before we start configuring, let's look at what the default configuration looks like. Show configuration. I like to look at it in display set form. There are a bunch of interfaces pre-configured in a vQFX. If you looked at physical port 0, so 000, you see that it's pre-configured as an ET, which is the nomenclature for a typical, like a 25 gig or a 40 gig or a 100 gig interface. And so they kind of like pre-populate each physical port with all these different ways that Junos would configure an interface. Here's a 10 gig type of a nomenclature, XE, and then here's even a multi 10 gig breakout, :0, :1, :2, and :3. So it's just kind of funny that vQFX starts every physical port with like 6 different lines of code for that port. So you can get rid of a lot of this stuff to simplify what your configuration looks like. You know, going on to port 1, same thing. ET001, XE001, XE001, :0, :1, :2, and :3. So just wanted to show that before we carry on. And check this out. It's kind of interesting. If you didn't see it already, when you look at the configurations that we were just looking at for the interfaces, it says QFX 10002, QFX 5100. Then when you go to show system information, it says vQFX 10,000. When you go to show chassis hardware, it says QFX 3500. Show chassis FPC, QFX 10002-36Q. So it's just kind of interesting that the vQFX, I guess it's set up to emulate a lot of different types of the QFX products. You see these different names all throughout this thing as it is in its factory default configuration right now. So I just wanted to show you that. Getting a little cloudy outside, I had to kick my lights on. Okay, hey, so let's get these things going. So as you can see, the two vQFXs are connected with XE-0/0/0 on each interface. Again, I'll remind you, when you connect externally on a vQFX, you've got to use that routing engine to make those connections. And so here's the configuration. We're going to set the system host name to vQFX01 on this first one on the left. We're going to configure that port 000. We're going to turn on family Ethernet switching. We want to make this port a layer 2 bridged interface, okay? And then we're going to add a layer 3 logical interface using an IRB that'll sit in logic inside the QFX system, okay? So again, we're going to make it a VLAN trunk on XE000, and then we're going to add a VLAN to that trunk, and then we're going to create an integrated routing and bridging, an IRB type of a layer 3 interface that's going to sit in software. That's then going to be the layer 3 interface that sits on that VLAN inside that QFX. So family Ethernet switching, interface mode trunk. again, set interfaces XE000, unit 0, family Ethernet switching, VLAN member, and we're going to add a member to this trunk. We're going to call it VLAN 10. Here's where we create that VLAN, set VLANs 10. We give it a VLAN ID. That is the literal number that's going into the 802.1q framing tag in the Ethernet frame to identify this as VLAN 10. Then here is the set interface IRB, unit 10, family INET, that's IP version 4, and there's the IP address that we put on IRB.10, otherwise known as IRB unit 10. Now, once that is configured, we then set VLANs 10 layer 3 interface IRB10. That's how we bind the layer 3 interface to the VLAN. Okay? So this is creating the VLAN. This adds the VLAN to the trunk as a member. This creates the IRB and gives it an IP address, and this binds the IRB to the VLAN. Okay, so let's put this configuration in what is known as RE20, Routing Engine 20, of our vQFX01 system. Let me see if I can paste all this into here. Config mode. Okay, let's try that again. Copy, paste. Okay, a couple things I don't like here. The ... means that the terminal is not set wide enough. I'm just going to show you a few tricks along the way. Run set CLI, screen width 300. That tells the CLI to be 300 characters wide. Also, as you can see, it cut it off here. So the terminal sometimes doesn't allow me to paste everything in. If anybody out there knows a trick to allowing me to paste in multiple lines, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I forget why. But go ahead and drop me a comment. Let me know if there's a quick setting I could make to change that. I think it might be the PuTTY emulator, because I think if I've done it with another emulator, sometimes it works. So anyway, let's try this just a couple lines at a time. We'll configure the system hostname and configuring the port as a trunk. Now let's add that VLAN. There we go. Let's create that IRB and give it an IP address. Let's create that VLAN and bind the IRB to the VLAN. So there we go. Show pipe compare shows the pending configuration. Commit check checks the sanity of the configuration. Now we have a problem. So I haven't changed any of the defaults. And so I showed you earlier there's a lot of different configurations that are already pre-configured. So we're having a conflict on XE000 unit 0 family Ethernet switching, and it's saying that the Ethernet switching and the rest of the families are mutually exclusive. So it's having a conflict. You can't bridge and route on the same sub interface. So let's delete this default configuration of family INET IP version 4 for XE000 unit 0. Let's delete that. And then let's do this commit check again. And there we go. It's good. So let's commit that. And as we can see, the commit was complete. It has now changed the host name to vQFX01, run show route. We now have, let me do this, run show route table, inet.0. Our inet routing table now has 10.10.10 0/24 as an IRB, as a directly connected route. And so I'm going to ping 10.10.10.2 in preparation for configuring the other vQFX02 over here. And so once it's functional, we'll see those pings start replying. So I'll modify this configuration real quick for 02, change that IP address, and let's get over here and configure this other one. Again, it's cutting it off, run set CLI screen width 300. There we go, now we can see it all. Let's paste that in. Put the IRB in there. paste this in. We should get that same error, and we do. Show interface XE000 display set. Let's delete that pre-configured family inet. Let's commit that, and let's see if those pings in the background start replying. Any second now. There we go. See that back there? So there we have it. Layer 2 bridging across the trunk, a VLAN added to that trunk, VLAN 10, and IP addresses in IRBs sitting on top of the VLANs within both QFXs. All right, so this is great. Let's look at how to verify a few things. Okay, we exited config mode. Show interface XE000 shows the physical port up here. Then it shows the logical interface down here, .0, and it says it is encapsulating Ethernet bridging. All right. We can show VLANs, shows all of our VLANs. There's a default VLAN by default. Here's our VLAN 10, and here's our interface that we've added to it. Okay. If we hit the up arrow and we type the word 10, it'll only show VLAN 10. Hit the up arrow, details. You will get details about the VLAN. You can see there is a layer 3 interface that is bound to that VLAN, IRB10. Tells you your MAC aging timer also, by the way. 300 seconds is typical. 5 minutes, 300 seconds. And then it shows the interfaces that are in that VLAN, XE000.0. Says it's a tagged trunk. Okay. And I wonder if extensive will show us something different. It shows us about the same thing. Okay, something else we can see. Show Ethernet switching table. Shows us all the VLANs and the bridging table associated with them. We can also do VLAN ID using the VLAN number for the specific VLAN 10, or you can say VLAN-name and use the VLAN name for the same output. So it shows what MAC address we are learning across that VLAN, which would be the MAC address of the interface over here on the other vQFX. We can also look at the ARP cache, show ARP no resolve, and if we want to look at it on a specific interface, of course you're looking at it from the perspective of the IRB at this point. The ARP cache is related to the layer 3 interface always. Show ARP no resolve, interface IRB 10, and there is that MAC address and what IP address it's associated with, which is the IP address, again, of this other vQFX on the other side. And something else we can look at in EVNG, we can right-click on one of these, capture XE000, and with that ping traffic flowing across there, we can look at that traffic in real time. And let's click on one of these, and we can see our 802.1q VLAN tag, and the VLAN ID is in fact 10. Right there, you can look at it in hex 0000, 1010, and we know 1010 hex equals 10. That would be 8. Well, we have 8, 4, 2, and 1 is the place value holders. So 8 plus 2 equals 10. So that's where you get your value of 10 in the VLAN ID field of that 802.1q tag. Then there is the IP layer and the ICMP layer, echo. Echo is the ping, request, and reply going back and forth. Did I say hex when I was looking at this? I think I said hex. Obviously, that's binary. Those are the zeros and the ones of the binary equivalent of the decimal number 10. Hey, that's it. That's all I wanted to show as an intro to vQFX. Hope it's helpful. I hope it answers your question out there, the person that posted the comment earlier that was having trouble with the Ethernet switching family in their vQFX. Hey, if you like what you're getting from this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Click that bell, turn on those notifications so that you know each and every time I drop a new video. All right, I look forward to the next one.